Okay, good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, good evening, good night, whatever time zone you happen to be working with when you're watching this. Actually, I don't even know what time it is for me. It's okay. It's 12:23 p.m. I thought it was still morning, but it's afternoon. So good 12:23 p.m. to all. All right, so today's video is going to be about Shanks, specifically Shanks in the last chapter, chapter 1076 of One Piece. Spoiler alert for that. But before we get into that, and I apologize in advance, I have to do something that a lot of you are probably not going to be fans of, but it's going to be very important for what's going to happen in the One Piece story next, in the next story arc, which is most likely going to occur. It's also going to be very integral in following along with my videos and all the references I'm going to make. I'm going to have to issue a homework assignment. I know, I'm sorry, everyone's like, teching, homework, I already have enough stuff going on. Like, I know, I'm sorry, but we have to do this. Take out your planners. I don't know if they still use planners. When I was in school, they gave us all planners so we could, like, keep track of our assignments. Nowadays, probably everybody just uses their phone, but, like, whatever. Take out your planners or your notebook. Time to write down the assignment. Okay, here we go. Whoa. Okay, so we're going to be looking at, let's try to tackle Volume 1 of Vinland Saga, the hardcover edition, by next week, and then we're going to sit down and have a whole discussion about Viking society and the different cultural norms and the standards and things that, like, Viking men had to live up to and all that kind of jazz, all right? This is going to be important. We're going to go through the whole damn series, okay? We are Vikings now because there's Vikings in One Piece. Viking yell! Alright, so, yeah, chapter 1076, you don't actually have to write that down as a homework assignment. I know some people probably would. I know some people would be like, alright, I have to write a report on Viking culture? I'm like, no! I mean, like, if you happen to be in school right now, and you happen to be learning about Vikings, and you happen to be writing a report about it, I guess you would. But, like, other than that, no, you don't have to write a report. But if you want to, you could go read Vinland Saga. It's really good, alright? That's probably the best way for you to learn about Viking culture from an anime perspective, considering we're going to ELBAF soon, okay? Alright, so, One Piece chapter 1076, a lot of stuff going on at Egghead right now, but the big part of the chapter, of course, was the end, where we not only got to go to ELBAF, where we not only got to see what Kid was up to, but we, more importantly, got to see Shanks, and even more importantly than seeing Shanks, because seeing Shanks alone is something that's a big deal, because it doesn't usually happen very often in the series, but not just seeing Shanks, Shanks, I swear to God, is actually about to do something. I know, right? I know, right? Usually, we just see Shanks hanging out reading the newspaper or something and just like, oh, wow, Luffy, you're really making a name for yourself. And then that's it. And it's like, whoa, Shanks, yeah! Read that newspaper, Shanks! Fill out that crossword puzzle, Shanks! Read Beetle and Bailey, Shanks! We want to see that from you. No, it's actually looking like Shanks in the last chapter is marching off to war. He's marching off to set sail in the Red Force with his crew, and he's heading out to sea to intercept Captain Eustass Kid in an epic battle, alright? But he's not alone. He doesn't just have his own crew and his ally crews, no. He's also got some help from the strong arms of ELBAF. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. He's got help from the giants, Oimo, Kashi, and more surprisingly, the Blue Ogre Dory and the Red Ogre Broggy. That's right, they're back in the story. They're no longer dueling at Little Garden, and that's going to be a video, that's going to be a separate discussion, all right? We're going to tangentially discuss that today. Actually, one of the first things we are going to discuss is the name of the chapter was Old Friends. And the chapter title comes from a line that Shanks says where he's like, oh, we were about to leave ELBAF. Like, the implication was he was there to catch up with some old friends that he thought were dead, and then they just lost track of the time, and if they would have left earlier, then, you know, Kid would have arrived and Shanks would have missed him. But now, because Shanks stuck around a little longer and drinking all that ELBAF sake, and they were all gorging themselves on, like, giant blueberries, it looked like. They had giant pieces of meat, and they were eating that and everything, and giant blueberries. bodies, and then, Shanks was getting toasted, and it's like, oh man, lost track of the time. All right, so I actually wanted to see what the official Viz said about this, because the version that I read was pretty much just like, oh, okay, I'm hanging out here, catching up with old friends that I thought were dead. So in the Viz translation, the way that Shanks says it is, old friends who thought each other dead are reunited. That's what he said. I'm catching up with old friends who thought each other dead are reunited. Okay, so that gives a different kind of a direction to this, for me anyway. I mean, maybe you got the same implication, but from what I got from this was that in the first translation, it seemed like Shanks, met some old buddies that he thought were dead, and he's like, oh, you're alive, that's so cool. Like, Shanks personally knew them. This translation seems to imply that it wasn't so much that, like, Shanks was really, like, acquainted with them. I mean, he was, but, like, it seemed to imply that, like, it was a party that was involved there. Like, a group of people, like, oh, we thought you were dead. We thought you were dead. And then there was this big party, and then that's what Shanks was hanging out there for so long for, okay? So that honestly actually makes a little bit more sense, because we see Oimo and Kashi, and then we see Dory and Broggy. And yes, it is true, as Shanks is walking out of the bar to go to the Red Forest to intercept Kid, he asks, hey, Dory, Broggy, do you want to come along with us to make sure things don't get out of hand? And Dory and Broggy are like, yes, and Broggy specifically is like, da-ba-ba-ba-ba, yes, brother! And so he's calling, red-haired Shanks his, like, brother in arms, okay? So that's a big deal. But I think it may be more about the fact, like, this is the reunion party between Oimo and Kashi and Dory and Broggy. All right, that was another implication you could take from this, where it's like Dory and Broggy may have just returned to ELBAF recently, like not too long ago. They finished their duel, and they arrived back, and Oimo and Kashi are like, yo, captains, you're back! And everybody's having a good time. Everybody's getting drunk and having meats and giant blueberries, and it's just a great time, right? And so there was that kid there, that little giant kid that was like, Shanks, take me with you! And Shanks is like, no. And then the kid's like all upset. And then, the bartender lady was like, really? He's like, oh my God, Shanks is just such a dreamboat. You know what I mean? So that's what really was going on there. And Shanks was just really caught up in the revel of just like, oh my God, this is insane. This is such a great party, and it does make sense, because Oimo and Kashi did think Dory and Broggy were at least captured or maybe dead for a very long time. And then they left, after Ennie's lobby, they went back to Water 7 for a little while to party. And then after Water 7, they returned to ELBAF, not to Little Garden, to ELBAF. So maybe they went back and found Dory and Broggy and then brought them back. I don't really know, but I just wanted to bring that up because that was the chapter title. Okay, so we're going to do a separate video on the Giants. I'm going to try not to get derailed with that, because this really needs to be two separate videos, just to talk about the Shanks' stuff and then Dory and Broggy's stuff, okay? So moving back now to Shanks, okay? So now the discussion about Eustass Kid. So Rockstar shows up in the bar and he's like, hey, Kid is actually here, and he's actually attacking us, okay? He doesn't seem like he's backing down. He doesn't seem like he's afraid. And I love the line from Shanks, where Shanks is basically like, hey, send a message to Kid. Tell him to drop everything and his road poneglyph etching and leave and just get the hell out of here, or you're going to have to fight me, all right? And we get a little bit more of an elaboration on the first interaction that Kid had with Shanks' crew, because we learned during Wano that Kid lost his arm not from the time he attacked Big Mom's ships, but from the time he attacked Shanks. And that's also the reason why Kid and Killer and Hawkins and Apu were working on that alliance to take down Shanks. Of course, Apu was a double agent working for Kaido the whole time, but that was the reason. So Shanks definitely, Kid definitely has a grudge against Shanks, all right? And so it's just like, I'm gonna bring him down, that kind of thing, right? And from the conversation in the bar between the different, the big commanders, the bosses of the Red Hair crew, like Lucky Roo, Yasop, and Ben Beckman, the idea is that Ben Beckman was the one that actually took Kid's arm, all right? Because Ben Beckman had a line that was kind of just like, oh man, he's going to be really upset. And then Lucky Roo looks over at Ben Beckman and is like, oh, you think he's going to be upset over Shanks? I think Kid's going to be more upset about you, Ben Beckman. And Ben Beckman's like, yeah. So yeah, the idea is that Ben was the one that actually took red hair. Not red hair. Damn it, I keep making that mistake. They both have red hair and they're both missing an arm now. This is going to be confusing, okay? But Ben Beckman was the one that took Kid's arm. It was also stated by Killer that last time they encountered the red-haired pirates, Kid never even got to see Shanks, all right? So it wasn't the scene where, you know, Kid shows up to Shanks having a party and he makes fun of the fact he has one arm, and then, you know, Shanks takes out Griffin and just slices off Kid's arm and then just calls it a day. You know, no, it was probably a thing where they were attacking the other ships, because the Red Hair crew does have more ships than their, you know, just their main ship, the Red Force. It's just that they're usually spread out. So Kid was probably attacking those other allied ships earlier, and then Ben Beckman shows up. And I'm actually kind of curious how Ben Beckman, if he really was the one that, you know, sliced off Kid's arm, like, how did he slice it off? Because Ben Beckman, in case you didn't know, I don't know if Ben Beckman has ever actually fired that rifle, because Ben Beckman carries around this super long rifle, and he intimidated Kizaru with it, but I don't know if he's ever fired that rifle, actually. He might have fired it way back in the East Blue, but normally he just kind of takes it and just clubs people over the head with it, which is actually, like, you might laugh at that, like, oh, he has a gun and he just hits people with it, but no, seriously, back in the day, that is actually another feature that guns had to have. They also had to be clubs, because back in the day when you're using a flintlock, like a muzzleloader, like rifle or anything, even a flintlock pistol, you know, you only got one shot with that back in like revolutionary times, or back before, like, you know, pirating times in like the 1600s or whatever. You got one shot with those things, and if you missed, you need to have some other way to defend yourself. So a lot of those old rifles, the stocks of those things were made basically like clubs, designed to physically hit people. When it's like you fire a shot and it's like, oh, okay, well, even if I hit somebody, then people are going to still be coming after me. I need to, you know, swing that around and be able to defend myself. So it's not as ridiculous, but I don't know if we've ever actually seen Ben Beckman actually fire the rifle. You know, he just always smacks people around with it. So I don't know, he hit Kid's arms so hard it like broke. I mean, honestly, if you add an armament hockey to that thing, it could probably cut through anything. You know, Ben Beckman was able to sever an arm with the stock of a rifle. Not easy to do, but this is the Red Hair crew, and so I buy it 100%. All right. So, or maybe he just, you know, shot him and the bullet was just so, like, had so much armament hockey in it, it just hit Kid's arm and just, like, it just, boom, it just blew up, you know, like an explosive round or something, right? Because we've never actually, because Kid just kind of uses the prosthetic, so his arm might have really been, like, seriously, like, blown to pieces, who knows? But anyway, yeah, so that's the situation with Kid's arm. But now we have Kid on the shore heading toward Warland, ELBAF. By the way, Warland seems to be the name of, like, the region that it's in, is the name of the island itself. So we've seen Warland, I think, a few times now. I think it was used before earlier as well in the series. So Warland, ELBAF. Okay, so they're arriving here. Just like how, like Godland, Skypiea. Like, Godland was the region, the whole area that Eneru controlled. Skypiea was the name of, like, one specific, you know, island. But anyway, so, yeah, they're reaching ELBAF. And Killer, always being the voice of reason. I love the fact that the guy named Killer, you know, Massacre Soldier Killer on the Kid Pirates, is the voice of reason here. He's like, hey, Kid, I mean, are you sure you want to do this? Because last time they took your arm and you didn't even get to see the guy you were trying to fight. So this time, they're not going to just let you go. This is an Emperor fleet. This is big game. This is, you know, big names here. You know, they're not just going to let you go. They're going to kill you if you fight them again, okay? And this was before Rockstar has not relayed the message yet. So Rockstar will probably go to the Victoria Punk and relay the message. Kid and Killer will probably fight against Rockstar, which, I mean, Rockstar, I love Rockstar. He's probably got a bounty of at least a few $100 million right now, but, like, yeah, Kid and Killer working together, they'll probably be able to beat the crap out of Rockstar and then, like, hold his lifeless, not lifeless, I don't think they're going to kill him, but they'll hold up his, well, they might kill him, who knows? This is Kid we're talking about. He doesn't really have compunctions about that kind of crap. Literally, Killer is a guy on their crew, okay? So they might, okay, let's just say they straight up kill Rockstar. Very tragic. They kill Rockstar, they hold up his body, and they're like, hey, Red Hair, you want to come out and fight me now? And then, oh, God, that would be the worst thing. Like, I said it in the review, and I'm like, I don't hate on Kid all that much. I think he can actually fight. I think he'll be okay, usually. But against Shanks, with his whole, like, the captains there, like Lucky Roo, Yassop, Ben Beckman, plus, like, you know, Lime Juice, Howling Gab, Building Snake, Hongo, everybody there, plus all of the allies that we saw. There were at least 2 ally ships there. There were more that we actually saw that Kid was fighting on the shores of ELBAF. There was even one other ship. He said, all these ships are red hairs, including the one that's lagging behind. So Killer made a point to mention that. Like, there's another ship lagging behind that's also part of the fleet, so I'm not really sure what that's about. But at the bar, docked at ELBAF, was a ship with a, like, polar bear figurehead, and then a ship with a black wolf figurehead. And we both saw the captains of those kind of hugging Shanks as he was walking out, like, Shanks, we love you. Thank you for helping us. We feel like we need to pay you protection money. And then I don't know if it was Shanks or Ben Beckman, but one of them was just like, yeah, we don't do that. We don't take protection money. We do it because we want to. It's like, oh my God, you guys are so awesome. Just like, then they are. I love how even in the world of One Piece, the red hair crew and Shanks are just like, everybody around them is just like fanboying constantly over Shanks, as you should, right? So, but then he's also got the giants. He at least has Dory, Bragi, Oimo, and Kashi backing him up. Kid, I'm sorry, dude. There's no way you're winning this. There's no way you're winning this, okay? And also, going back, Kid might have gotten this in his head that because he helped to take down Big Mom and indirectly Kaido at Wano, Kid might be having a little bit of a case of an inflated ego right now. I think that's fair to say. And going back and looking at the fight, because I did, look, I'm not going to say Kid did not participate in the fight with Big Mom. That would just be completely erroneous. He helped. He definitely helped. But all I'm saying is, like, the way that Big Mom was actually finally defeated, who created the giant hole that Big Mom fell into? Who created the soundproof bubble that prevented Big Mom from, asking her homies to assist her from falling? Kid helped too. Kid was the one that used the damned punk to actually launch Big Mom out of Onigashima down into the hole. But if it was just Eustass Kid versus Big Mom without Law there to help out, I think Big Mom would have won. Because I don't really, Kid was able to launch a few attacks that, like, even broke her arm at, like, 45-degree angles at certain points, but, like, she could use her powers to heal that. The real thing in that fight, I mean, it wasn't even just Kid and Law, if we're honest. It was also just the fact that Big Mom fell through the armory, grabbed onto a bomb, and then the Kanzenbo was also there. So there's a lot of other factors here involved. So all I'm saying is, when it came to the fight between Big Mom, you have to give a certain percentage to Kid, another percentage of the fight to Law, another percentage of the fight to the Kanzenbo, I guess, because that's the thing that actually ignited the explosives. And then maybe, I guess, another contributing factor would just be like blind luck, just like falling through Onigashima through the armory and then falling down. But Kid definitely helped. He participated there. He was definitely a significant factor in that fight, but I don't think it was, like, to the point where you could say that, like, Kid on his own could have dealt with Big Mom, all right? And then you get into the whole argument of, like, who's more powerful, Big Mom or Shanks? Like, what happens? Like, okay, you defeated Big Mom, and she was a Yonko, that's cool, but, like, Shanks might just be straight up stronger than Big Mom, which, honestly, if I was going to place bets on that fight, tonight, Sunday, the match of the millennium, Big Mom, Charlotte Linland, ruler of Totoland, up against red-haired Shanks! I'm putting money on Shanks. I'm like, woo, yeah, 10,000 Mary on Shanks. I'm putting money on Shanks on that fight. I gotta be honest with you. So, I mean, you might say Big Mom is stronger. She's tough. She's a tough, mountain whale or whatever. I mean, she's powerful, sure, but, it's Shanks we're talking about here, guys. He's been hyped up for a long time. And so it's not just Shanks, it's also Ben Beckman, Lucky Roo, Yasop is there, everybody's there. I think Kid gets it in his head where it's like, I took down Big Mom. Yeah, Trafalgar was there to help out a little bit, but I took down Big Mom. And I also, I helped fight against Kaido too. Straw Hat might have gotten the final hit, but I think I loosened Kaido up a little bit. Kid's personality, you can kind of see that. You can kind of see him after leaving Wano still alive with his crew with him too. Like, everybody made it out. You could see him kind of hyping himself up. You could see him sort of being like, I took down a Yonko. Actually, if you think about it, I took down 2 of the Emperors. Yeah, I think I could take down Shanks. So, let's be straight up here. Like, if this is just a fight, if this is just Shanks rolling up to the Victoria Punk and going hog wild, Kid loses. He just loses. Like, there's just, I'm sorry. Kid is powerful. He's got some really cool techniques. He's an awakened paramecia. He's got his magnet fruit, the Jiki Jiki no Mi. He's got the giant robot. Killer's with him. I'm sure Killer and Kid working together, really cool combo attacks and everything. We got the whole crew. We haven't seen everything from the whole crew. Heat and Wire are there. Bubblegum is there. Gig is there. UK is there. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, sure. But, Shanks plus all of his officers plus all of his allied crews, probably not even all of his allied crews, but at least a few of his allied crews, plus being backed up by two of the greatest giant warriors that have ever come out of Warland ELBAF. In a straight-up fight, Shanks annihilates, just eviscerates Eustass. It's not even close. Okay? It just isn't. All right? With the odds stacked against him that much. I've been reading some comments, and people are at least, I mean, most people seem to be on the same page here. I'm sure there's a few people that are like, hey, guys, I think Eustass Kid's got this. But most of the comments are like, nah, he doesn't got this at all. But got to admire the bravery. Or the stupidity. Not sure which. Which one do you think this is classified as? I'm not sure, because there is a fine line between courageous and just stupid. All right? There is a fine line there. All right? And I think this is jumping over that line a little bit toward the stupid side. All right? Now, maybe granted, Kid does not know that Shanks is, like, the whole officers are there, and he's got giants backing him up, but, like, he knows the allied crews are there, and he knows Shanks is on that island, so Kid has to at least realize that Shanks is there, and if Shanks is there, you know Ben Beckman's going to be there, you know everybody that's there, you know, Lucky Roo, Yasop, you know, they're all going to be there, and it's ELBAF, and since Shanks is a emperor hanging out on ELBAF, you also got to assume maybe he's got some of the giants backing him up, too. So, I mean, Kid isn't stupid, but in this instance, I think he's really just running off of, like, I helped take down 2 emperors kind of a high, and he thinks he's, like, way, way stronger than he... Also, you got to remember, he's trying to prove himself, too, to, like, hey, I'm better than Straw Hat. You know, we all have the same bounty, but he becomes an emperor? Screw that. I'm stronger than Luffy. I'm going to be emperor. I'm going to take down Shanks and take his spot. Yeah. So it's almost like kind of going back to like Viking traditions and the way that, you know, men in Viking culture were kind of expected to behave. It's sort of like a challenge to Kid's ego, a challenge to his pride as a warrior, you know, where Kid has to do this. It's like, I have to take down an emperor right now. I have to live up. You know, Luffy took down Kaido. I got to take down Shanks to preserve my honor, to let the whole world know you don't laugh at Captain Kid. All right? I'm an emperor just the same as Luffy. And can you imagine if, like, Law became an emperor next? Law's dealing with Blackbeard right now, which, by the way, I don't think Law is going to defeat Blackbeard in the same way. Like, I don't think that, like, oh, yeah, Law could take down Blackbeard. Kid could take down Shanks. No, I don't think that either. But, like, can you imagine if Kid got word that Law was fighting Blackbeard right now? He's like, oh, man, if he beats Blackbeard, then he's going to be an emperor, too. We'll have Law, Luffy, the stupid clown, and then Shanks, and then I'll be the laughingstock. So, Kid's got to fight. He's got to fight. I guess he sees it in himself like, I don't have another choice. It's either I fight and I win or I lose and I die. There's really no other alternative here, okay? So Shanks is marching off to battle here, and he straight up says, he's like, unless he drops his road pawning glaive, like, drop your shit and leave, and if you don't do that, I'm fighting you. So Shanks really doesn't seem to have any kind of attitude. Like, he is giving him a little bit of leeway. He is. Shanks is not like, if this was Kaido or Big Mom, they would have already jumped. You know, it wouldn't have been a big deal. I mean, it wouldn't have been like, oh, let's see what he wants to say first. Let's give him a choice. No, it's like already attacked. So Shanks is at least a very generous man, if nothing else, where he's like, man, I really don't want to, like, just, you know, ask him to drop everything and leave and never show his face here again, all right? And if he says anything other than yes and leaves, then I'm fighting him. I'm not playing with this guy again. You know what I mean? I'm not messing with this. And so, you know what Kid's going to say to that. Kid's not going to agree. He's probably going to beat the crap out of Rockstar, if not just straight up kill Rockstar. I mean, oh my God, if he straight up kills Rockstar, I mean, even if he doesn't, even if he just mortally wounds him and just holds him like, hey, Shanks, check it out. Like, oh God, Shanks is not going to, he's not going to hold back. He's not holding back. Shanks up to this point has always been such a relatively chill emperor. I mean, relative to Big Mom and Kaido and Blackbeard, right? He just seems to kind of take his own pace with it. You know, he doesn't really get involved in fights unless there's really no other option. But there is no one else in the One Piece world you want to piss off more than Shanks. I don't know if I worded that correctly. There's no one you want to piss off less. I don't know. Yeah, I guess that's more, than Shanks. Don't piss off Shanks. That's the underlying theme here, okay? And so it's into the fight. It's a massacre, okay? It's a massacre, right? So the only way I could see this going down where Kid does not die is if somebody else interrupts the fight. If somebody else shows up to ELBAF to interrupt the fight, or some news happens from ELBAF itself, like, you know, King Othin, you know, he makes an order, or Loki shows up, or Thor shows up, and he's like, stop this battle! Something else more important than Eustass Kid is happening. And Eustass Kid is like, hey, what's more important than me? You know? I just realized Kid is kind of like Vegeta. Like, a little bit in terms of personality. It's kind of there. You can kind of see a little bit of early Saiyan Saga, you know, Namek Vegeta in Eustass Kid, a little bit. So yeah. Maybe something like that could happen. So yeah, maybe something like that could happen. Maybe the Marines show up. You know, anything that could happen to like interrupt their fights. And like, all right, you know, Shanks is like, okay, I don't have time to deal with you. I have more important crap to worry about. And then Shanks has to retreat. And then Kid is there really banged up. Really, he saw the face of the Reaper on that one. And he's like, oh, man. You know, and just like, you know, Shanks might be like, I have to go deal with this. This is more important than you. Anything is really more important than you. But this is more important than Eustass. So if you're still here when I get back, I'm going to be already really pissed off, so just leave, okay? And then Kid is just like, you can't tell me what to do! And then Killer's like, okay, we'll leave, red hair, don't worry about us, you know? Just like, I don't know. It's a break week. I really hope when we come back to this, I really hope we just see what's going on with ELBAF. I mean, like, that is such a cliffhanger. I mean, then again, we already had the cliffhanger with St. J. Garcia Saturn, and that one was left off, and so, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if Oda's going to immediately... I don't know, though, because, like, this is kind of similar to when Law was, you know, squaring up against Blackbeard, and the chapter ended with that cliffhanger, and it's like, oh, I guess we're going to go back to Egghead. But no, it picks right back up where we left off, and we actually do see the fight a little bit between Law and Blackbeard. So we might do that in the next chapter. Maybe half of the next chapter is seeing the interaction, like Shanks arriving. I don't know. I feel like Shanks, just with his power alone, would be able to slice the Victoria Punk, like, in half. You know, like Mihawk style. Like, everything Mihawk is capable of, Shanks is also capable of. Yeah, Mihawk might be regarded as the greatest swordsman. Maybe he's a little stronger than Shanks. But, like, when it comes to, like, slicing the ocean and galleons apart like they're crepe paper, Shanks is every bit as capable of doing that as Mihawk is, okay? So I feel like that's what Shanks would do. It'd be like, oh, you beat up Rockstar? And just slice the whole ship and then take Rockstar and then just beat the crap out of the crew. Kid's crew is only like, what, like 30 members? Like, that's it? Like, what are you doing? You're not going to win this. Like, it's not happening. Oh, boy. It's going to be wild, though. It's going to be wild to see Shanks in action. Actually see Shanks whipping out Griffin, pulling off some named techniques with that thing. Ben Beckman actually fired the damn rifle. Lucky Roo actually living up to one of the fastest characters in One Piece. I'm going to make a separate video about that because who is the fastest character in One Piece? Is it Kizaru? Is it Lucky Roo? And you might be wondering, why would it be Lucky Roo? He's like a huge, you know, yeah, well, look into it. And also, by the way, little question about that. Does teleportation count as speed? Because if it does, then Van Augur, that now has a warping devil fruit, although I wouldn't really consider teleportation speed, because speed is like the actual act of like using your own power, your body, your legs, I guess, to move from one location. Like you're still traveling from point A to point B. It's just that you're doing it really fast, so your speed. But if you have a teleportation ability, like let's say Van Augur can just snap his fingers and warp to some place he's been before, he could travel maybe to the other side of the world instantaneously, but is that really speed? because he's not using his legs, he's not running, he's not traveling from point A to point B, he's just ripping a hole to A to B. Like, there you go. I don't know. Depends on what you consider that, but there'll be another video on that, fastest character in One Piece. But yeah, that's the video. I hope you all enjoyed. Shanks is just basically going to a one-sided massacre. That is essentially what is about to happen, unless Kid finally has a moment of clarity and realizes that he's way in over his head here, or somebody else interrupts this, or some of the giants get involved and they're like, stop the battle, something else is happening, unless it's something like that. They're Yggdrasil, the giant falcon or hawk that lives at the top of Yggdrasil, or the Jormungandr is attacking. Like, unless it's something like that, then, yeah, this is just going to be, Kid's going to get wiped out. Not even close. All right, well, anyway, that's the video. Hope you enjoyed. But now, moving on to snake facts. And I have to say, this is actually a correction of snake facts, because last time I said the largest snake in the world was the king cobra. So that's not really accurate. It is the largest venomous snake in the world is the king cobra, which, by the way, in and of itself, I don't even think is a cobra. But still, in terms of venomous snake, it is the largest, and still pretty big. I mean, pretty big snake, the king cobra. But in terms of actual, like, large snakes, the largest ones, as I'm sure a lot of people know, are not actually venomous at all. They are pythons, and, like, they're part of the boa subfamily, I think. So we have 3 snakes here. We have the reticulated python, the Burmese python, and the anaconda. All right, and all of these snakes grow much larger than the king cobra, but they don't bite you. They constrict you, and that's, these snakes decided to evolve in the direction of, like, we're just going to get some gains. We're going to build some muscle, and then just wrap around our prey, and then just crush them to death. That's how, and then eat them. That's how these snakes evolved. All right, so this is actually a really fascinating subject, because I was looking into a bunch of different sources on, like, what is objectively, like, the largest snake ever recorded, and you're going to see in a while what the problem is here. Okay, so the reticulated python, originally I was looking it up, and it was like, the reticulated python is the longest. It can grow normally as much as like 21 feet or 6 meters is completely standard when it comes to the reticulated python. However, growing larger than 6 meters is uncommon, but not completely unheard of. In fact, this species of snake will grow longer than its average size more than usual species will, okay? So getting up to, 6.5 meters or even longer, it's not absurd here. However, I did see a example of a reticulated python that was recorded that was over 32 feet long. Okay, so like the average is up to 21 feet, and then maybe 22, 23, 24 feet, but then I see 32 feet, and I'm like, whoa, that's really long. So the next up, we have the Burmese python, which can grow from 16 feet to 23 feet. So already we're getting a little bit of inconsistency where I looked it up, and it's like, the reticulated python could grow up to 22 feet. It's the longest. And then I look up to the Burmese python, and it's like, the Burmese python could grow up to 23 feet. I'm like, well, okay, here's the issue. I think a lot of zoos and also people that just own snakes want their snake to be the longest. So there's like off the record recordings of the longest snake, and then there's official records of the longest snake. You see where I'm going with this? So there was a Burmese python, there was a reticulated python way back in the 1930s that was recorded to be 32 feet long. But it wasn't official. They didn't actually have like an actual person come over and officially measure it, or if they did, that measurement has been lost. There's been other cases where snakes have been recorded to being super long, and then they've been examined later, or they've been examined later, and it's like they're shorter than originally assumed. So it's like, somebody might have been fudging the numbers here, okay? So I think that's what's up. I think if I had to give it to a python, I would probably give it to the reticulated python based on what I've seen. But a lot of these snakes seem to be like, their numbers are fudged a little bit. I'm like, oh no, we have the longest python in the world. No, I actually do. Actually, it's a private collector in Indiana. No, it's a dude in India. He has the longest one. So it's like, yeah, I don't know. But when it comes to the heaviest,
that's a little bit more concrete. That is the anaconda. The anaconda can grow up to be about 17 feet, which is respectable, of course, but it can weigh upwards of 214 pounds. So the anaconda has been at least confirmed to be the heaviest snake. But when it comes to longest, it would be a python, but is it the reticulated python? Is it the Burmese python? Is it another kind of python? Who knows? But it's a python. So there you go. There's your snake facts for the day. Hope you enjoyed. Techig signing out. Later.